Welcome to Muscle Maintenance with In Shape Fitness. I'm Coach Kim, and today's podcast is a workout, though this is a warm-up for a workout that I want you to be able to use when you're going out to do something else. If you are a runner, for example, this roast before you run is actually what I'm calling it because I'm a marathon coach and I love running, and it's the activity that I go to for pretty much all of my exercise in terms of how I personally stay fit. So I call it roasted before you run because we're going to be on the floor the entire time. Most of what you really need to warm up in terms of the act of running has to do with your core. And I don't just mean your tummy muscles. I mean all of the internal facets of your core, the muscles that line your spine, your back, your side muscles, your pelvis, your butt, all that stuff is so important to really be functioning, to be stimulated and functioning before you head out for your activity. So let's start on the floor. You don't need any equipment for this exercise routine. We're going to do a bird dog exercise in quadruped position. And then if you have a resistance band, that is one piece of equipment that you might want to use for some of these exercises, but not for the first one because we are going to do a bird dog. Before we move the spine, before we move the trunk a little bit, we're going to work on stabilizing it. All right, so you're going to get into quadruped position, and even before, though, you might feel like you want to do some cat camels, hold off on that. We're going to finish up with that stretch, but I want you to just get into quadruped and perfect the art of contracting, sort of calling on your muscles and bracing for stability as though you were a four-legged animal and you're going to be on all fours for a long time. So you're going to make sure first that your hands, your wrists, and your shoulders line up vertically, and then that your knees and your hips line up vertically. So you make a straight line. Don't, put your hands out too wide or too close together, but rather shoulders, wrists, hips, and knees, and your back is straight, not arched, and your head is neutral, not drooped or lifted. So you're staring at your floor, your ears are still lined up with your shoulders, and you're just hanging out like a four-legged animal, okay? Now, the bird dog exercise is a stability exercise that creates this diagonal tension within the paraspinal muscles that are the tiny muscles that connect each of your vertebrae. Right? So they're little tiny muscles, and they are going to be stimulated by the extension of your right arm forward, not up, but just straight forward. Your palm turns towards your head, and then your left leg extends straight back. One straight horizontal line, parallel to the floor, horizontal line, and you can point your toes, and then pause for about, I call this a slow-mo bird dog. So you're going to pause for about 4 or 5 seconds. Take a breath. Make sure you're breathing, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth, and then return to the starting position. And then extend the left arm forward, ear right next to your bicep, and your palm faces your head, and then your right leg extends back. Again, don't lift up the leg. You don't want your back to arch. Your spine doesn't move, and your joints, your hips and your shoulders are not the girdle of the top part of your trunk and the lower part of your trunk. They are stable. You are simply moving the limbs in that diagonal coordinated extension, and then back to the starting point after the count of 3 to 4 or 5 seconds, maybe at most. So repeat that 3 times. It should take no more than 20 seconds. And you're thinking about the stability through the sides of your body. Obviously, you keep your head exactly positioned so that you're facing the floor. Don't lift your head up. And just move slowly, slow motion. That is a bird dog. Now we're going to turn to the left side. Radiators in New York City make a ton of noise. So if you hear this little click in the background, it's because I broadcast out of my apartment in Harlem in Manhattan, which is in New York City, of course. And lo and behold, my radiators just turned on. There's nothing I can do about that. So I apologize if that is annoying to you, but you are turning to your left side. And now we're going to do something really, really simple. Again, this is a slow motion movement. We're very, very minimal movement here. I want to activate the side, the top part of your leg on the side of the right leg. So you're lying on your left side. You're squeezing your legs together. And you're going to lift up both legs at the same time. If you want to, you want to put your right hand on the floor in front of your tummy for stability, that's fine. But lie all the way down with your legs completely straight. You don't want any bend at your hips. You don't want any bend at your knees. And then you lift up your legs slowly. Pause, just like with the bird dog, for 3 to 5 seconds, and then lower back down. And complete 5 of these. So again, if you lift, hold for about 4 or 5 seconds and lower down, in total, you're going to be on the left side for about 30 seconds doing this slow motion move. And you should feel on the right side where you're lifting up, right where the pelvis, you can feel the pelvic bone protruding out. That is the muscle that you're lifting. It's a combination of the muscle that sits right at the top of the leg called the tensor fasciae latae, and a little bit of the gluteus medius is in there. You're going to lift it up. You pause. You use those small muscles to hold the legs up in the air and then lower back down slowly. So that is on the left side. Now you turn to face up. Remember, I told you you're going to feel like a rotisserie chicken, moving very slowly from facing down to facing the left side, then facing up, and then we're going to turn to the right side in a second. So you're facing up, and now you're going to get into a hip bridge. You bend your knees and put your feet flat on the floor. And when you're in the hip bridge position, your hips are lifted in the air. Your feet stay flat on the floor, and your knees and your ankles should make a straight line up and down. And as you're lifting up and holding, you're going to, again, slow motion here. So think very, very slow motion for almost all of these exercises. I'll tell you if you go a little bit faster and get more dynamic. But remember, this is a warm-up for you to do something that is a little more dynamic later. So we're taking our time to ensure that you are squeezing, that you're moving with complete control, and stimulating the muscle groups that are going to be needed in order to create the dynamic movements that you're going to want for later. So lifting up, exhaling up, inhaling on the way back down in these slow motion hip bridges. And again, it's not really important that you do a certain number, but 5 slow motion ones for about 30 seconds is good. And then turn to the right, straighten your legs, and we're going to go back to that slow motion right side double leg lift where your legs are straight, your feet are in natural position. You can flex your feet or point your toes if you feel like you want to, but just neither is all that critical for this particular exercise. You're lifting up both legs. Squeezing the legs together is important so that you lift them up together. That's that added intensity of forcing the stimulation of your the upper part of your right leg, your left leg. Sorry, you're lying on your right, so you're working your left pelvis here, the side of your left pelvis. Okay, we're going to do some side planks in a second. I know you know that some plank is on its way. Plank work is on its way. We're going to save that till the end. So we've got 3 full rotations. We've completed 1 rotation here. Now you turn back towards facing the floor, and this time I want you to go up into downward facing dog. Now, I like being in downward facing dog. Most runners appreciate the significance of being in this position where you make a triangle with the floor, if you don't know downward dog, and you put your hands on the floor, your butt is in the air, making that triangle peak, and you might not get your heels on the floor, but you feel the back of the leg stretch out. You can feel your hamstrings stretch out. You can feel your calves stretch out. It's great for your glutes. So hang here for a couple seconds and take a few deep breaths. But the purpose of being in this position is for you to do something we call, this is a little more dynamic, but we call this a downward dog squat. And I love these so much more than regular squats in some ways, because most people do regular squats wrong. So getting you on the floor allows you to put less pressure on your spine when you're standing up erect, and allows you to still activate the quads, but you also get that fabulous stretch of the back of the leg when you straighten back up. So, you're going to inhale, lower your body close to the floor. All you do is bend your knees and then push your butt back up in the air and straighten your legs on the in the reverse direction. So you complete 10 or so of these. You're going to inhale as you bend your knees and lower your body down close to the floor. And then as you straighten your legs back out, you're going to exhale. And then you're going to turn back to your left. Now this time, when you turn to the left, I want you to bring your knees up into a small case H. So you're going to bend your knees at both your hips and your knees so that you have a right angle at both levels, right? And you're going to simply do a side kick. Again, this is also kind of dynamic. It's not a slow motion. You're going to lift up your right leg and kick out your right foot, the lower leg. So you lift up the thigh and then you kick out the foot. These are side kicks. So you lift up, kick out. Now you flex the foot as you straighten the leg with a flexed foot. You're going to feel your calf more activated, and you're going to feel the hamstring stretched out a little bit. So these are, again, left side lying side kicks. I have a 91-year-old client who calls this the Pele because he thinks of it as the soccer player and his side kick. But again, simple, 10 times, 10 repetitions, nice and slow, but dynamic. And then turn to face up again, because now I want you to lift your body back into the hip bridge, but I want you to do 10 hip bridge dips on each leg individually. All right, so you're going to lift up your left leg and you're going to execute 10 hip bridge dips, lowering the body down and lifting up with just your right leg. Make sure that the right leg, your right foot rather, is flat on the floor. Don't lift your toes. And then lower down and lift up. Inhale on the way down. Exhale as you lift back up. And as with everything else, then once you finish that 10, you repeat with the other side. Now, when your left foot is on the floor and your right leg is in the air, again, double check. You got to do a systems check to make sure that the left foot is straight and to make sure that the left foot stays flat. If you're right-handed, this is going to feel harder than the other side. Okay, once you finish those 10, we are going to turn your body to finish those side kicks on the right side. So now you're turning to the right side and you're kicking with the left foot. We've got one more full completion before we finish. The next exercise is a simple plank for 30 seconds. On your forearms, you might hear it called a low plank, but with a regular standard plank, and your time starts now. I'm going to time you for 30 seconds. Your elbows and your shoulders make a straight line. Don't make fists with your hands. Flatten your hands out and splay your fingers. Your fingers like yoga, phalange fitness, phalange flexibility. So make sure your butt is down. If you have issues with plank on your toes, you can lower down to your knees. Just, again, keep your butt down. And then we're going to do a left side plank next. So you've got 3 more seconds. 2, 1. Now turn to your left one last time. Lift up into side plank. Just 15 seconds. Up onto your elbow one more time. Your time starts now for 15 seconds. That's 5. You're doing great. Make sure that you're breathing. You've got 5 more seconds to go. Last really hard exercise now is I want you to turn and face up again. And this time I want you to sit on your butt. So you're going to lift into a tabletop. Depending on your fingers should face forward. Your hands should be right beside your butt, and you are going to lift your butt up into the air, and it's going to feel like you're a contortionist because you're going to force your chest open. And if you don't have strong wrists and if you have extra weight on your frame, it might feel very difficult. So you might only be able to hold it for a second. But we're going to work our way towards being able to lift up and lower down 10 times into your tabletop. Now, I want to complete the last two exercises are that right side plank. So go ahead and turn yourself to the right side and lift back up into a side plank with your legs stacked. And you're on your elbow, and you're going to hold for 15 seconds starting now. Really wanted this podcast to be super short as well, because if you get good at this workout takes maybe 6 or 7 minutes at most. And then you can start adding on some repetitions to make it a little bit longer. I like my runners to take 10 minutes to warm up before even the shortest, like 3-mile run. Maybe even even short, any run, any activity. Take 10 minutes beforehand, and it's always a great way to stimulate the body before you head out. The last exercise are those cat camels, which people love to do. The tricky thing with the cat and the camel, when you're back on quadruped now, you're back on all fours. So your hands, your shoulders make a straight line, your knees, your hips make a straight line, and then the cat part is to drop your head like a bowling ball and round up the spine like a scared cat. So you're creating that curvature of the spine that is natural, but also kind of dormant in our modern sedentary lives because we don't properly use the back for the full range of motion for which the back is designed. We're in this stasis for a majority of the day and sort of not in anatomically correct positions for a lot of the day as well. So sometimes it's good to stabilize first before you start moving the spine. So when you drop your head like a bowling ball, go slowly, round up the spine like a scared cat, and take a deep breath. And that is a cat. And then finish with a couple of camels as well, where you lift your head and your chest, and you contract the lower back, the lower part of your spine, the lumbar part of your spine, and then just sort of shake it out a little bit. I also really love a little plyometrics before you go out and run. So if you take a couple of extra seconds and do some jumping jacks or a couple of fast feet to go out before you head out, that's great. Let me know if you have any questions about this workout. I'm Coach Kim from InShape Fitness. You can reach us at bodybyInshape.com, and I will be back next week with another great workout in this muscle maintenance series. Have a wonderful day.